Hello dear students, welcome back to a YouTube class. So in the previous sessions, in the two sessions, we started to study about the new chapter, that is data structure. So in that first session, we had studied the introduction part, why we had to study about your data structure chapter, and we had seen the meaning of data structure, data representation. With that, we have also seen the classification of data structure, and then we started to study about the different classification of your data structures. We had seen the meaning of primitive data structures, the example of primitive data structure, and the operations which we can perform on the primitive data structures. These are all the points we had covered in the first session. In the last session, we had started to know about the meaning of non-primitive data structure. That is, the non-primitive data structures are the complex data structures. These data structures are derived by your primitive data structures, and they are used mainly to group your elements in the format of heterogeneous and homogeneous type of the data. So the examples of your primitive data structures, that is the classification of your non-primitive data structures, is arrays, list and files. One extra you can add it, I told you in the last class, that is your files. Then, so we know that the array is nothing but your homogeneous elements collection with the same name. And here your arrays can be divided again into three, that is one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. After knowing the meaning of your non-primitive data structure, then we had started to know the different types of your non-primitive data structure, that is linear data structures and non-linear data structure. So we know that the linear data structures are a type of data structures that has the homogeneous elements. Here in this data structure, the elements are stored in sequence and form a linear series. The examples of your linear data structures are stack, queue and linked list. Again, your linear data structures has been classified into these three, that is stack, queue and linked list. About your stack, queue and linked list we'll study in next coming sessions. Just timing, remember your linear data structure has been again classified into these types. Then the next we have is about your non-linear data structure. Non-linear data structure is a data structure in which the data item is connected to several other data items. That I told, here the elements can be stored like a hierarchical relation or the parent-child relation. Such data type is called as non-linear data structure. Here your non-linear data structures is again further divided into trees and graphs. It has been again further divided into trees and graphs. So with this meaning of your non-linear data structures, we have also seen the different operations which we can perform on your non-linear data structures. I told you to remember these operations which we can perform on your non-linear data structure because these are important for 5 marks. So the first operation which we can perform on your non-linear data structure is traversal. So traversal is nothing but the process of accessing each data item exactly once to perform some operation. When all you are accessing the data items of your collection exactly once to perform some operations, such process or that process is called as your traversing. The second one we have is insertion. So the insertion is nothing but the process of adding the new data item into given collection. That process is called as insertion. And the third one is deletion. Here deletion means removing or deleting the element, the data item from a collection, from a given collection. If you are removing any data item, then that process is called as deletion. And the fourth one we have is searching. The process of finding the location of a data item in the given collection of a data is called as searching. So what you are doing here in searching, we are finding the location of a particular data element. That process is called as searching. And the next fifth one we have is sorting. The next fifth one we have is sorting. So your sorting means the process of arrangement of the data items either in your ascending order or in your descending order. What we are doing here, we are rearranging the data items in order, that is in ascending order or in descending order. That process is called as sorting. And the last one we have is merging. The last one we have is merging. So here merging is nothing but what we are doing is we are trying to combine the data items of two different structures. What we are doing here is we are trying to combine the data items of two different structures so that we can form a single data structure. So that process is called as merging. Done. So these all are the different operations we can perform on your nonlinear data structure. Remember the name of each operation and how it is worked. This can be asked for 5 marks. So remember each process for your exam. The next we'll start to study about your arrays. We'll start studying about your arrays. So we had studied already the arrays. So in PU first year we have studied about your arrays. Now we'll study little more relating to arrays in a data structure, what all we can do. Done. So is array now is a part of your non-primitive data structures. So now we'll start studying about your non-primitive data structure. About your arrays, we'll study everything relating to arrays, the operation which can perform the array, the different algorithms, processes and the programs. Then we'll start studying about your list, that is the linear data structure. Done. So in this chapter, you have in detail study relating to your algorithms on your array, the operations on your array, types of the array, and then the different list, that is the linear data structure, stack, queue and the linked list. So first we'll study about your arrays. So we all know that an array is nothing but a collection of homogeneous elements with a unique name, and the elements are arranged one after the another in adjacent memory location. What you can call it for your array? Array is nothing but an ordered collection of elements of the same data item that share a common name. In this way you can define, or else you can also define your array as array is a collection of homogeneous element with the same name or with the unique name. Okay, so this question has been asked for 1 marks, that is define array or what is array. Then so I'll write the meaning, you can note it down. An array is a collection of homogeneous elements with unique name, you can say, or else can say under same name. Which point you want, you can give it. Done. So here unique name or the same name, what you can define is nothing but the name of your array is same for all elements which are you are storing in that particular array, and it's a collection of homogeneous array means same type of the elements we are storing. Means there is an array called as A, and in A, if it is declared as int A, means in that A, how many elements you are storing, those all should be of integer. We are not allowed to mix with the different data types. So that is called as your homogeneous collection. Understand what do you mean by the homogeneous? Here the homogeneous means same type of the data or same data type elements we are doing collection, and we are giving the same name to those all the collections. That type of the collection is called as your arrays. Done. So here the arrays are stored adjacently in sequence one after the other in your memory location, and the data items in an array is called as an element. The data items, the data which all you store in your array are called as elements. We call them as elements, and those are stored adjacently in your memory location. So adjacently means one after the other. One after the other, those are stored. So here these elements are accessed. How the elements of the arrays are accessed is these are accessed by numbers called as subscripts or indices. These are accessed by numbers. Those numbers are nothing but your subscripts or indices. Subscripts or indices. So a subscript means the array size what we give, no? Like A of 10. So if I had given A of 10 means it will be with the memory location of 0 to 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Now if you want to access the element which is stored in 0th position, then how we access? Through its position. This is called as it's a subscript or the indices, what we can call it as. Then so in this way we can access the elements through its subscript or through the indices. Then so here totally we have 3 types of the arrays. We have totally 3 types of the arrays. The arrays can be again divided into 3 types. So there are 3 types of arrays are there. Which are those? The first one is one dimensional array. Which is also called as single dimensional array. Which is also called as single dimensional array. The second one we have is two dimensional array. And the third one we have is multi-dimensional array. We have totally 3 types of the array: one dimensional array, two dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. So first we'll study about your one dimensional, then we'll see about two dimensional and multi-dimensional. So in your chapter one dimensional arrays, in detail we have on that we have the algorithms, and then we have again is the programs and all. Two dimensional little bit introduction and all is there, and about your multi-dimensional we have is only the meaning and all. We don't have anything extra to be studied in the syllabus. Then so first we'll study about your one dimensional array, the meaning and the examples and all. Then we'll study the other examples. Then so the first one we'll study about the one dimensional array. So what is one dimensional array? An array with only one row or column is called as one dimensional array. Or else in another way we can say the array with only single subscript is called as your one dimensional array. So how to define your one dimensional array is array with only one row or column is called as one dimensional array or a single dimensional array, or else we can also call it as array with a single subscript is called as one dimensional array. An array, take down the meaning, an array with only one row or column, only with one row or one column is called as one dimensional array. Is called as one dimensional array. So here In one dimensional array, it is a collection of finite number of the elements of same type. It is a collection of finite number of the elements of same types, that we call it as your one dimensional array. So how the elements will be there? Here the elements are stored in continuous location. Means the elements are not stored anywhere like how the normal elements are stored. But your array elements are stored continuously one after the other in your memory location. And secondly, the elements can referred by indexing. The elements can be referred by indexing. So these 2 points we have to remember how the elements has been collected into your one dimensional array. How it is there? First one, elements are stored in continuous location. Which location? Memory location. And secondly, elements can be referred by indexing. The elements can be referred by indexing. Then, so let me give you the first syntax of how to define your one dimensional array. Then we'll see one example of that, and then we'll see the other points. Done? So the syntax to declare your one dimensional array. First, what you have to do is you have to write the data type. You have to write first the data type, then the array name, and in square bracket you have to write the size of the array. In the square bracket you have to write the size of the array, and this is your syntax of your array. What all you have to cover? Data type, array name, and the size. So here data type is nothing but the type of the value it can store. For example, int, char, and float. For example, integer, that is int, char, and float. Array name is any identifier name which is a valid identifier, we can say, which has been given to identify your array. The name given to identify the array. Next, the size is nothing but it should be compulsorily an integer value. In size, compulsorily you have to enter an integer value, and the size will represent the maximum number of the elements that the array can hold. The size what value you can enter here, it will tell you that these many maximum number of elements an array can hold. Then that we can write it. Then so we'll see one example. So the example I can write like int x of 5. Int x of 5. So what here, int is nothing but a data type, x is nothing but the array name, 5 is the size of the array. So here in x all integer type of the elements are stored, and what can be the size is 5. What can be the size is 5. 5 elements we can enter into your array. Then so internally how it is there? You just can be remember in this way that consider this is the address of the array. What all the content you want to add it, that is the element and the location. Done? So location is nothing but 0 to 4. 5 is a size, so I can call it as x of 0, x of 1, x of 2, x of 3, x of 4. The elements in the array I had entered like 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. What all the elements I had entered into array is 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Now the address we can take it as like 100, 101, 102, 103 and 104. Done? So what all the elements were stored in X? In X we had stored 5 elements. Those are 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 respectively. The memory address of each element is 100, 101, 102, 103 and 104. The location of each element is X of 0. In X of 0 10 is stored. X of 1 here 20 is stored. X of 2 here 30 is stored. X of 3 here 40 is stored. And X of 4 here 50 is stored. Done? So here the first element or the first location of your array is called as LB. Here LB stands for lower bound. LB stands for lower bound. And the last element or the last size or the last location of your array is called as UB. UB stands for upper bound. UB stands for upper bound. So remember, these are all the terms. First location of your array is called as LB, lower bound, and the last location of your array is called as UB, that means upper bound. Next we'll see how we can find the array size in bytes, total array size in the bytes. So to find the total array size in the bytes, we have a formula. So what formula you have to remember is total size is equals to length of the array, length of your array. It is, I'm giving it relating to a one dimensional array, okay? Length of the array into size of data type. Size of data type. So how to find the length, total size of your one dimensional arrays? First you have to find the length of the array, then you have to see the size of the data type. Which data type you are using for that particular array, that size you have to find it in the format of your bytes, and that you have to multiply and you will get your total size. For example, in this example where we had written int x of 5, what is your length of the array? The length of the array is size of the array. The length of the array is nothing but the size, that is which has the storage size. How many elements we can store is 5. Done? So here the length of the array I'll write here as 5 into the size of your data type. So what is the size of your data type? The size of the data type is 2 byte. It is of 2 byte. So 5 into 2 is totally 10 bytes. It is totally 10 bytes. So the total size of this particular array is 10 size. Suppose I had written here as char x of 15. Char x of 15. So how I can find the total size of this array? So here total length of the array. What is the length of the array? The size of the array is 15. 15 into size of the data type. What is the size of the data type? The data type is char, so its size is 1. So 15 into 1 is 15. 15 into 1 is 15. For example, if I had taken it as float f of 5. Float f of 5. Now we want to find the total size of this array. So what will be the total size of this array? So what is the main? First you have to find the length of the array. What is the length of the array? Is 5 into the size of the data type. What is the size of the data type? Is 4 byte. So 5 into 4 is 20 bytes. Done? Like this you have to find the total size of the each array. So how to find it? Your total size of the each array is based on this formula. Total size is equals to length of the array into size of that data type. Into size of that data type. So like this you can find it. So here the memory allocation of your one dimensional will be in this way. The memory allocation of your one dimensional will be in this way. That is, your each elements will be stored with its particular location and the memory address. Like this I had shown you. If you want, you can change it like in this way also. Okay. So the name of the array is X. The locations How many sizes there? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. What all the elements we stored is 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. So what is the memory address here? Sorry, location. X of 0 it is, X of 1, X of 2 here, X of 3 here, X of 4 here. And the address is 100, 101, 102, 103, 104 respectively. Then like this, the memory allocation will be taken place for your one-dimensional array. Done. So next I'll tell you about the features of your one-dimensional array. We'll study about the features of your one-dimensional array. Then we'll study the other points later. Okay. So first let me give you the features. So what all the features we have for your one-dimensional array? What all the features we have for one-dimensional array? So the first one is your array size should be positive number. As I told when I was explaining the syntax of your array, this thing. Here the size of the array what we write is always an integer number. That is your first feature of your array. The array size what you enter as a subscript here in the square bracket, that should be compulsorily an integer number. So that is the first feature. Note down. Array size should be positive number only. Should be positive number only. Remember, when all you are declaring your array with its subscript, what value you are entering in that subscript, that should be compulsorily a positive number. Next, the second one, string array always terminates with null character. In the previous year we had seen always that when all we are declaring this integer values, float values and all, these are normally ending like this. But if you are dealing with a string array, the last array element is always the null value. Always the null value, so that the compiler will get to know that this is the end of the array size. This is the end of the array size. How? The compiler will get to know relating to your strings when it reaches to the null character. Then that is the second feature of your one-dimensional array we have is string array always terminates with null character. So what is the null character? That you know, the null character is like backslash and 0, and it should be in your single ended. When we are dealing now, we show it with the single character. But in array, it is normally backslash and 0. The next third feature we have is array elements are counted from 0 to n minus 1. If suppose your size of the array is 5, so how it is counted? From 0 to 4. 4 is nothing but n minus 1. 5 is your n value, minus 1 means you will get the 4. So it is always counted from 0 to n minus 1. It is always counted from 0 to n minus 1. So that is the third feature we have of your array. Array elements are counted from 0 to n minus 1. These all the points you had studied already in PUC first year. Even though you remember, because lot of programs we are writing using single dimension array, and we are even writing the algorithms. So you should not forget those all the points. Next, the last feature we have is useful for multiple reading of elements. So when all we are reading the multiple elements at a time or writing the multiple elements at a time, then it is very useful. That time we can use this single dimensional array. Useful for multiple reading of elements. So when I am doing the multiple readings for the elements, that time these are the useful. Done. So remember these are all the points relating to your arrays. Single dimensional array, I had covered only this much. Remember the meaning of single dimensional array for 1 mark. then how it is declared, the syntax and the example of your one-dimensional array, types of arrays, that is one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. Then remember the meaning of one-dimensional array, then the syntax of one-dimensional array and the example, how it is declared in your memory, that is memory allocation in this way or in this way, and then the formula which I had given you to calculate the total size of your array. To calculate the total size of your array, that is nothing but length of the array into size of the data type. Total size is equals to length of array into size of data type. You have to remember this one, and then the features. The other points relating to your single dimensional array, like how to calculate the length of the array or representing your one dimensional array in the memory with the formula, and then the operations relating to your one dimensional array, those all the points we'll see in the next class. If you have any doubts relating to today's class, let me know. I'll clarify your doubts, and the other points we'll see in the next class. Thank you.